Whenever you speak to Quinton Fortune, what you're guaranteed to get is his joy at a life spent in football oozing out of him, which is why we chose him to begin this new season of The Big Interview. We start with a mum, Mrs. Fortune, not scared of gangsters, not scared of gun-toting thugs, but nightmarish surroundings in the Cape Town flats where Quinton, our guest, feared for his life often, but then moved to London where working around Terry Venables, Guy Lineker, but particularly Paul Gascoigne, was like having Christmas every day. This same man feared for his football life when making his debut for Atlético Madrid against Barcelona and the original, brilliant Brazilian Ronaldo. But he was a participant and a witness when the senior players at Manchester United teased the life out of Cristiano Ronaldo, basically telling him that almost everything he was doing was wrong. Stepovers, clothes, teeth, skin. And therefore Quinton is a great raconteur to tell us about the moments that pushed and frustrated Cristiano Ronaldo into becoming one of the great modern footballers. There's Roy Keane kicking him too, and Quinton, firsthand, knows some of the pearls of Manchester United's youth system, who will undoubtedly push through and make Manchester United as exciting as they were under Alex Ferguson. A good raconteur and soon to be a coach playing attractive Pep Guardiola-style football. His licenses are ticking off one by one. Quinton Fortune is a terrific and entertaining way to begin a new season of The Big Interview. Sit back and listen to my friend while the joy oozes out. Oh, thank God the new season's here. Season 4, The Big Interview. Manchester, we're with Bafana legend, Atleti star, Manchester United star, friend, Quinton Fortune. Mr. Fortune.
Graham, good to see you, amigo.
Good morning, man.
Good to
see you, amigo, too.
Good to see you, maestro.
Hablas muy bien en español.
Muchísimas gracias.
The last time we saw each other, we were sharing a television studio, and to make a point about something you were watching, you were talking about experiences at Manchester United and the Champions League. So, I want to take you back to a specific date. Mm-hmm. The date is Wednesday, 25th February 2004. The background is that Manchester United are in Europe. I'll let you name the club.
Yeah, Porto.
Porto, correct. And something extraordinarily special is about to happen, given that the man who currently manages Manchester United was the opposition coach that night. But if we put a micro rather than a macro in the game, and we hone in on a little battle that a previous guest of ours was talking us through. Benny McCarthy was saying that he obviously wanted to star that night.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a Manchester United fan growing up. But he told us that from minute 14, he was running around the pitch with a phrase going around in his head, I can't let him knock me out, I can't let him knock me out. He scored, I've got to score. Put the flesh on the bones of what I'm talking about, because you know what I'm talking about.
Well, that game, wow. That's a heartbreaking game. Well, it's a special game because obviously I'm saying the pitch with Benny and when we walked out and game starts, and I'm just remembering the first time me and Benny were playing against each other. We were 10, I think under 10s or under 12s, and we're in the Cape Flats. So that image of me looking at Benny, we're looking at each other on the pitch, was like, we're looking at each other now, we're in the Champions League. This is unreal. 2 kids from Cape Flats playing for Porto, Manchester United. This is beyond your craziest dreams, and I don't know how I scored. I think it was a free kick. It was a rebound, and then I just tapped it in with my left foot. Great start for us, and then Benny just took over. But I told him before the game that that's how good Benny is, and it was great to see Benny score. But at the same time, of course, I want to win. And a fantastic night for Benny, but for both of us, because we scored, but unfortunately we didn't win.
So to make the night when Porto at home beat Manchester United make sense to people when you called it unbelievable and something of a dream, I suppose you have to describe seeing Benny for the first time, and you have to tell people what the Cape Flats mean.
Oh my goodness, when the Cape Flats is, you got gangs. First of all, when you think of Cape Flats, you think of crime, you think of violence, drugs, you think of just negative stuff. And
what do gangs mean in that context, Quinton?
oh, gangs is like each area you go, there's different gangs, and it's very easy to get caught up in that. And the area Benny comes from, there's a big gang called Americans. My area is another gangs, the Dixies, and it gets so many different. But it's so easy for any young player or child to fall into that trap. Not that you want to, or your parents want you to, but it's just kind of the way of life. And
is it misbehaviour or is it crime that they represent, these Americans and Dixies?
Oh, crime. These are drug lords. These are people who run the area. Shooting, stabbing, you name them. It's ridiculous. It's a nightmare for any kid to grow up in certain areas. It's a nightmare. So for us to come out of that, it's...
Well, not just to get to play in the Champions League against each other for Porto and Manchester United, but I know both of you, and here you are, successful, clean cut, a dad, friendly, teetotal, a happy man. If you hadn't told that story and I presented you to somebody, they wouldn't believe that you grew up in something you've described as a nightmare area.
Yep. I was, in terms of the sports side, for me it was like I thought about this before I come to speak to you. In terms of the sports side, that for me was like heaven because I love football. But in terms of just living there and opening my door, the first thing was we lived in a place called Q-Town, and they call it the Flats. And so we lived on the right to the top floor, 7th floor. So as soon as I opened my door, there was guys smoking drugs on our stairs. So I had to walk through the smoke every day to school. That's why probably I was so happy, because I got downstairs, I was smoked up. But that was the image you get, and kids kind of idolized that. That was the role model.
It was glamorous?
It was glamorous because these guys had the money, they had the nice clothing, the shoes, the jewelry, the cars. And unfortunately, kids wanted to be like that. And I grew up, Graham, honestly, one day when you see it was like, in my mind, it was like probably a football heaven. Our flat was here, and the stadium was right there. There's a football field. So for me, it was like Christmas.
Why were there all those facilities? On the desk here, you said that there's a stadium and then pitches, football fields surrounding it.
Yeah.
Who built them? Were they mud? Were they real? Were they grass?
They were grass. First of all, I couldn't believe it. We had to make, because obviously the weather was amazing. They were grass. The council built them, and I remember as a kid, there was not a day that I wasn't on the football field. I'd go to school. On my way to school, I was already preparing what I'm going to do. First break, second break on the pitch. The school I went to was a predominantly Afrikaans school, so they only played rugby. Rugby, yeah. Which was like...
Some cricket too?
No, just rugby. It was so that's why my language is Afrikaans. And then I told my mum, look, I played my first rugby game, didn't enjoy it. I said, my mum, I can't do this. And bless my mum, she just took me out of the school.
On what basis? Why did she listen to you?
Because she knows how crazy I was about football. They knew I was absolutely mad about football. Every time they looked for me, there was either in the football field or somewhere around the area where I was playing football. And well, she saw already from, I think my parents already saw it from a young age, because I started to leave home at 9. I was playing for my provincial team, and we travelled, and then I started travelling really early, and they knew I was in love with the game.
They must have seen some talent. They must have believed that you had some talent as well. But when they changed schools on the basis of your love of football, in theory, if in quotes, were they changing you to a lesser school? The school you were in?
No, it was the school. Actually, they changed me to, Graham. Was like I said, the stadium was here. It was just opposite the stadium, so it worked out perfectly for me. The only reason I wanted to go to that school, it's because they played football.
It's okay, yeah.
And it's nearer, so it worked out perfect. And we had the football pitch there was sand. It was the best. It was the best.
When we hear stories like this in this series of interviews, one was Ledley King, for example. I would say a huge number of our guests have said, I could have ended up in jail. I could have ended up selling drugs, owning drugs. My friends aren't alive, or they're in jail, etc. And Ledley talked about the cage, where there was an actual footballing cage, the likes of which have become Cruyff courts nowadays. And his mum would look from her block of flats And because she could see him playing in that cage, and he said sometimes it would be 20 aside, so you had to guard the ball and use the ball well when you had it. But that's where she would let him go. And we look at Ledley and we think, big, strapping, responsible guy, how could he ever have been in a stage where he could... But he said the same. Easily things could have gone wrong.
Yep.
She controlled me. And taking it back to you, Benny also talked about this and his dad. And he talked about the gangster leagues and how things changed. But, you know, he told us about seeing a friend being, you know, shot and killed outside his house when they were just been playing street football. And you talked about the gangs and the fact that many people would have found them glamorous. Why, you know, football aside, because you could have loved football and still be sucked in, why didn't that appeal to you? Or how did you avoid it?
That's because my grandmother, my mum, my dad was so strong in terms of when it came, all my brothers basically, they made sure that if we crossed that line, we knew we wouldn't want to cross my dad or my mum, so that the respect we had for them and the values they installed in us. So all the gangs knew my mum. I was driving on my way yesterday, I was thinking of telling you, if I had my mum's mentality, I'd probably be the best player in the world. She was streetwise. My mum would walk up to any gang leader and tell them straight in the face what she thought of them. Benny had an incident, I think Benny will tell you yourself, he was playing in our area, and where he's come from, obviously the area he comes from is another gang, and one of the guys in his team was sure he was involved in the gangs, and the gangs from our area jumped onto the football pitch, ran over to Benny with a gun, and luckily my mum was there. And they saw my mum and said, "No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Fortune," and my mum like argued with them and told them that, you know, these are football players, what are you doing? These are kids.
Stood up to gun wielding. Because
my mum knows these kids. My mum knows these people. Obviously, when they were kids, and now they have guns and they get carried away. And
what did she have about her that? Because we live in a world now. Only I don't know if let's call you 10 there. So let's say that's maybe 30 years ago. Yeah, we live in a world now where almost nobody could do that to kids who've gone that far wrong with guns. What we see now is much more fatal violence even in this country, never mind Cape Town Flats. What did she have about her that stopped them or impressed them?
I think that people, I wouldn't say that the gangs were differently with it, but much more respect. So they knew when the elders spoke, some of them would listen. And my mum knew most of those kids anyway because they grew up in our area. So she would fight for any kid, not just for ourselves because we were kids, but for any. And I think most of the mothers in the community were like that. So, and they were sports people. That's what my mum's saying. These not gangs. They weren't doing crime, and they weren't from another gang. And Benny was a sportsman. He was a player. So, why you want to go and hurt him for whatever you mistake him for someone else? And she just had that. I think the way my mum grew up, I would love to one day sit down with her and listen to her story because she was tough. She was very tough, and she wouldn't stand down to anyone else. That's why I thought, wow, I wish I had her when I came over in 91 at 14. I think my life would have been a little bit more different.
Every footballer who gets taken away from their parents has a real struggle about how quickly to mature, who do you follow, who do you listen to. In your instance, you know, although it was truncated, it was shorter than it should have been. What did that formative experience in London at Spurs do to you? Secondly, if I can jump back a little bit, everybody listening to us now, hello socios, like stories. They're passionate about football, but they're passionate about people. The great privilege that you can do, that all our guests can do, is take them there. So when you arrive at Spurs, try and describe the atmosphere, the leaders, the people who impressed you, anybody who took time with you, and try and bring the listener into that moment without your mum. Yeah,
it's a crazy game because one moment I was running around in the Cape Flats playing for my local team and provincial team. The next moment I'm sitting on a plane trying to open the window. No, really, trying to open a window thinking nothing works. And then arriving in London, the first...
This is your first time out of the country, right? First time in a plane?
First time in a plane. And then first time out of the country and arrive in London, just remember the strong accent of the taxi driver from Heathrow Airport to... Where do we go? We stayed in Belsize Park. That's the first area I remember stayed in. and then going to Mill Hill training ground and meeting Terry Venables, and amazing man.
He is
Unbelievable. He was so good to me. It's unbelievable. And then seeing Gaza and Gary Lineker and Paul Gascoigne and all these guys, it was wow.
Tell me about Venables, because you started my train of thought by saying, I wish I'd had the strength of character of my mother around me at 14 when I landed in London. Venables was what, just friendly, or you couldn't believe the manager turned out to welcome a 14-year-old kid, or what?
Both. I arrived at 14. I'm training with my age group, and then he calls me over to come and train with the first team. No, this is just like, come on, what's going on here? The way he treated me, spoke to me, and just gave me that confidence, because I'm in a complete different planet from where I come from. English is not my first language, so I'm trying to listen to every single word and understand it.
Are you struggling a little bit?
Yeah, because
a little.
It's Afrikaans, and the way we speak Afrikaans in the Cape Flats is it's shocking. So the only English I knew was from obviously going to school a little bit, but couldn't speak it properly, and watching TV.
So expressing yourself is a little bit hard?
Yeah, well, only way I could express myself was on the football pitch. And then it was amazing every day, because every day I go to training, you see Gazza doing something else. He's cutting up someone's training kit, he's driving the milk buggy around, splashing through the puddle or something. Someone's car will be parked in a different place, in the canteen. It was like Christmas being around him. It was absolutely brilliant. And I remember one game at the White Hart Lane. He was in the reception area. He came out to the reception, so because we normally used to clean the change rooms, and he saw this kid with the ball, and he stood near the reception area with his glass behind him, and he said, obviously the kid excited, this Gaza on my head. The kid like, oh, excited, froze it, and he walks away, smashed the window behind him. Oh, he just really wow, but brilliant. Because you could see the kid's face just light up like, Paul Gascoigne. He's got a ball in his hand, he wants me to throw it to him. Wow! He just walks on. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that was, oh my goodness. And I think, I remember, Steve Archibald, bless him. I went to training once, and I was on my own there. There wasn't many players training. And he came, and he took me, we did the warm-up together, and he just took his time out. And this is the great Steve Archibald. For me... Yeah,
you don't need to convince me. Another guest in this series, Aberdeen League winner, and your fellow La Liga analysis expert in Barcelona when we worked together.
That, for me, meant so much, because someone just took the time to speak to me. We did a warm-up together. I was watching him. I was like, wow.
Did people understand the language thing? Did they just think you were shy?
I don't know what they thought, but I think the football just took care of everything. Because when I arrived there, Graham, the guy who took me over, Colin Gee, we had like a bad experience at the end, but he trained me so hard before I arrived in England. So I was probably in better shape than most kids my age group. So I trained 3 times a day for 3-4 months before I arrived in England. So it's because I had to make sure, or he made sure that I was physically prepared better than any other kid that I was going to face at the level, because you just can't come in and be normal. You have to be out of this world, and then have to try and be as better as kids on skill-wise, mental-wise, and we had to cover all the bases. So when I arrived here, I was like strong, well prepared.
When they called you to train with the first team, you could hold your own.
I was so excited, so I was just playing and just getting on with it, and the players enjoyed it. But this for me wasn't no different, because that's what I grew up in the Cape Flats. My brothers were playing, and I was the kid sitting on the side, and they would say, "Come on, join in," because I would be there every day, like go and get the balls, and okay, just let him join in. And at the end, I just joined in. For me, that gave me a lot of experience. So obviously, I was excited, because this is another level, being involved with Terry Venables and Gaza and all the first team players at Tottenham. But that's what I was doing as a kid anyway. So I was been throwing in at the deep end with the senior players.
So tell me what you try to do in training, because you don't have their experience. Mm-hmm. Usually, like however strong or quick you are, mm-hmm. street wisdom separates a senior player and a junior pro. So if you said to yourself, whichever day you happen to be called into the big training, the senior training, and you're a little bit younger and you don't have professional football under your belt, what did you try to achieve, or what did you try to avoid doing? What was your mentality?
My mentality just to play. There was no fear or anything, or it was just like, wow, go and play. So I would just do all the stuff I knew. I couldn't think. I wasn't thinking it. I was just like, the ball come to me, do something. What I would do when I was playing with the kids over there, or my age group, or what I was doing in Cape Town. Take a man on, back heel, bit of skill. And that's how they got to just encourage me. And I really enjoyed my time at Tottenham because they saw what I had, and they encouraged that. And Tottenham always wanted to play football. And they just encouraged me.
Did any of the senior pros resent it if you tried a trick, or?
Not that I knew about, but Terry Venables was always the one, just handing around my shoulder, well done. And
you're describing an environment which I don't think is all that normal.
Yeah. Well, I think
a quiet foreign kid gets promoted ahead of his time, age 16, into the first team training, just turns up and does his stuff, including a little trick if he wants to, and one of the senior pros doesn't give him a clatter just to say, listen son, calm down, which could have happened at United if you stepped out of line in the environment you're going to go on and understand. You're describing a very kind of unusually easy-going atmosphere.
Honestly, I probably had it from my age group, or the kids just a year above me, but from the senior players that I can remember, I didn't have any problem. I remember, Sol Campbell obviously made it the first team, and I was playing with them as well on a Saturday afternoon, and that was a crazy experience. Ray Clemens was the manager, and he asked me to also be involved with the reserves. And as a 14-year-old, this is like, what's going on? This is crazy, but I was enjoying every single moment of it. Coming to the training ground, and the great Bill Nichols sitting in his car coming to speak to me. And I remember this word so clearly because I remember there's a moment at the end of the game, and it was at the edge of the box, and I should have just put my foot through it. And I tried to chip the goal, trying to be cute and trying to be clever. And I just remember his words: "You have to be more ruthless." And this is the great
Bill Nichols, double winner.
Come on, he's giving me this advice. I'm a kid here, like, wow. So the first week I trained with the first team. That session he let me train with the first team. A week later, talk about putting pressure on a 14-year-old kid. I'm on the front page of the Sun newspaper, the first £1 million kid. So now every game I play for Tottenham, everyone is there.
Yeah. Show us your genius.
Show us who this boy genius is, the future, whatever. Being compared to this and that, and I just all I was doing, I just wanted to play football.
Did you like that at the time when you
No, I didn't
earned that publicity?
No, my agent, the guy who brought me over, he was like, "This is fun. This is brilliant." But for me, I was just like, I just want to play, because now you go back to the changing room, like you mentioned the players. You think you big time Charlie? You got an agent? Because that time, how can a 14-year-old have an agent?
Yeah, that was unusual. Yeah,
it's unusual. Yeah. It's like, first of all, I said to him, I don't even know what an agent is. He brought me over. He's your agent. But that's how the situation started, and that's all I had to cope with.
You look back now, after your career. What did Spurs teach you that lasted with you throughout your career?
I remember the words from Terry Venables. These are the stuff I take away. Practice made permanent. Yeah, I'll always remember him saying that. Practice made permanent. The coaches I had was fantastic. Pat Holland, Keith Waldron. I need to remember my under 14 coach, Peter something. He was. These were all people that were just Ray Clemens encouraging me to express.
Not Peter Shreves, no.
Peter Shreves was there. He was more up with the senior team, but they all were brilliant. And Ted Buxton, amazing. Paul Gascoigne. It was just encouraging me, because when they saw what I was doing in games and training, they would just continue to keep doing what you're doing. The dream was, when I got the taste of playing for Tottenham, I want to be here. I want to be part of the first team. I want to you clean the changing room. You want to go through that and grow up with your teammates and make that next step, which is in the first team. Staying in digs, and Tottenham just encouraged that. So many good players at Tottenham at that time. You can go through the Sol Campbell. Obviously, it was well known. There was Stephen Carr later obviously called him Freddie, Danny Hill, Jeffrey Minton, fantastic players, and Darren Caskey. You can go through the whole team. There was so much talent, and Tottenham always wanted to play, which shooted me right down to the ground. So yeah.
And it doesn't work out, it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. Not anything to do with you or your talent or your progression. Just, between Spurs and signing professional and Colin, etc. But it turns out nicely because eventually, even though you have to return to South Africa, which must have felt
Not yet. So
devastating.
I haven't returned straight away to South Africa. So now I go to Chelsea. Go to Chelsea. So I'm at Chelsea for 8-9 months. And Glenn Hoddle's the manager. Oh my goodness, Graham Ricks was the youth team coach then. Amazing experience. So I trained with the first team a couple of times with Frank Sinclair, Dennis Wise, Eddie. I mean, it's just Glenn Hoddle was. I know Glenn was amazing.
Yeah.
As a manager, as a coach, but at the same time, just to watch him demonstrate the exercises was just embarrassing. The balance, the both feet. I mean, it's just outstanding.
He could still do things that his players couldn't do.
I remember playing a game with him. It was a friendly game, and he was playing in the same team. It was just like, wow, like pinging balls with both feet. It was just like, come on, what is going on here? But it's a great inspiration because that's what you want to be like. You want to be able to have the balance of being able to change the game with both feet when you have no problem. So I spent 8-9 months at Chelsea, and they were trying to also get me a work permit. That didn't work out, so then I went home to South Africa. It's
simply the fact that because you didn't have international caps, because you were so young, the work permit couldn't be resolved.
I think the work permit could have been sorted out at Tottenham, but I can't really go into details with the agent. But because Tottenham had everything prepared, they put me into school, they put me into digs. The plan was to sign for Tottenham professional contract, and the professional contract was there on the table. And unfortunately, the agent at that time, he wanted something else, which was confusing to me because I was ready to sign.
You had everything that you wanted in front of you.
Yeah. I was ready. I learned my trade at Tottenham, grew up with the kids there, stayed in digs, went to school. So I was ready now to make that next step and become a professional football player and try to fight to get into the first team. And unfortunately, he had other ideas, and then he was my guardian, and he's the one. Basically, I trust him. He was like a father figure.
It doesn't make it better for you, but football is full of these tales and these people and experiences. Unfortunately,
he wanted
full of it.
He wanted something else, which I was still confused. I don't know if he wanted more money or something, but I just wanted to play. I wanted to play, but that fight already started the day I left Cape Town. So yeah, I should have probably listened to my parents then. But yeah, because I just had this in my mind. He was the guy who gave me the opportunity, so I was like, I need to repay him back, and I believed in him and every word he said. And when he said we're leaving, I was like, wow, I was disappointed, but okay, he knows best.
And once the work permit can't be sorted at Chelsea, you do have to go home. Now, albeit that you're going to go on and have a successful career and you're an age where you still had it all in front of you, it must have felt pretty soul-destroying. It must have felt like a step backwards.
Yeah, because it was. I was disappointed because in my mind when I left Cape Town, not saying to myself, but just in the back consciously thinking, I never want to go back. I never want to go back to that environment. I never want to go back to that. I had nightmares basically when I left Cape Town of all the gang fighting. I never want to go back there. Just everything I'll do, I train the hardest and work the hardest, do everything.
See, you've underplayed that a little bit because you said that you chose to avoid it. Football you loved and you did it. Your mum stood up to him, but you didn't make me feel anyway that it scared you or that you might have nightmares about it.
Because I remember one night my cousin, she sent me to another, because we stayed is 4 flats, and they call it the small flats. In Afrikaans we call it the tiki blokker, and now the other 8 flats or 7 flats is about a mile away. So I'm walking in the evening to the other flats to go and get something for her hair, which I don't even know why in a million years I agreed to do it. And these guys were just bad people from the area, and they were trying to find my brother left at a young age because they thought my brother was involved in another gang, so they couldn't get my brother, so they thought, okay, here's an opportunity.
We'll take Quinton.
Yeah, so I'm walking through to the other flats and I'm getting to the entrance of this flat, so I have to go upstairs. And it was too late for me to turn around because as I turned into the area, they're all sitting down in the entrance, at the entrance, and I don't know. It's amazing how the body works or the mind works. There's no time to react, and I just walk. And I don't know, by God's grace, I walk through them, and I walk up to the first stairs, and I can see the guys. I can hear the guys coming up behind me, and I knock on the door, and just remember the lady opening the door, and she's asking him like, she's starting to shout at them, "What do you want?" And they said they want to talk to me. Now, these are gang guys, gang members, whatever. They don't want to talk to anyone. And luckily, her son was there, was in the police, and I stayed there for a while. And he brought me downstairs and through them again. And for me, that experience was like, it's like God was there with me, because I don't think I would have survived if that lady didn't open the door that day or that night. I wouldn't be here, because these guys are on drugs. They just do bad things.
You feel retrospectively, or you felt as soon as you got out of it that your life was in danger?
Oh, my goodness! When this opportunity came, Graham, I just so badly just wanted to get out of that area, so desperately.
So it wasn't just a competitive instinct of a good athlete
Yep.
that nobody ever wants to take a backward step.
Yeah.
So when I asked that question, I was thinking career-wise.
Yeah.
But there was much more weight in having to go home for you because of where you were going home to and what you were going home to.
Didn't want to go back there, even though I'm grateful and I'm proud of where I come from. But just the environment, the football side of things was unbelievable. I could not ask for better football education where I come from, because a school I went to, the football fields, the senior guys that played football that I looked up to. On a Saturday afternoon, when I used to go finish my football in the morning as a kid, come home, eat, and then go to the football field right next to my door and go watch other senior players. On a Sunday, go to church, come back from church, and go watch football again. So that side of things, it was amazing. But then you get...
Do you know, you've taken me to somewhere that we didn't prepare to go to, but the first time I began to understand or become interested in South African football, I met Benny's agent, Rob, with whom he's had a different relationship than Colin, and he used to say to me, one of the problems in the centre of South African football, he said, potentially maybe black South African kids who've come up with a certain level of football education, is that they think it's all about the show.
Yeah.
That a trick or making the crowd roar or applaud you is almost as important as a goal or a win.
Oh, it's more. Some places more.
It's more.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, is like Brazil gone wrong, because everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
And he would explain to me that if you get that as a mass feeling, and people get taught that way, that the show is greater than the result, what you get is basically nothing. And a nation going, but we look at all this technique and these fantastic players, and why aren't we winning the Cup of Nations every couple of years, or why don't we get to quarterfinals or semi-finals of World Cups? It seemed to me that there was a mismatch in perception and reality.
Yeah.
Yet you've never mentioned that once. You had a brilliant upbringing. You were a player who wanted to go on to succeed, to win. Were you aware of those trends that I talked about, and why didn't they affect you? The show being above the result.
Yeah, I think where I grew up in the Cape Flats, if you go more to Johannesburg, and in certain areas in Cape Town, that's probably people will think of as a good thing. But where I grew up, it was about winning. Oh my goodness! Every little game I played, Saturday or Sunday league, it was about winning at school. Yes, there was a trick now and then, a bit of skill, but it's about when you go into your first break or second break, or you're finishing school after school, you put your bags there and you will beat each other.
As you were describing that, your face changed.
Oh my goodness!
It went all, instead of the permanent smile, it went all serious and
And I remember my brother used to come pick me up, and bless him, my eldest brother Peter, he used to come pick me up on a Friday night and take me to the stadium, and I used to watch one of my local heroes, Duncan Crowley. He plays for a team called Light Bodies, and there was that competition. So I was watching that on a Friday night as a kid, standing there. I was like, what's he going to do tonight? And he played as a striker, but the way he carried himself, but a great finisher, good footballer. I used to watch, obviously on TV at that time, Joe Musono, and these guys would do the tricks, but I wanted to win games. And as a kid, I lost a lot of games. Oh my goodness, I used to come home and be so angry, and my dad saw that, and they knew I was crazy, but I wanted to win. And every game we played, every single game we played, every day on the field, was about winning.
You take the step away from Q-Town and Cape Town Flats because you go to Spain. Let's leave Mallorca aside. Mm-hmm. I probably first got to know about you when you come into that Radiantich era, I think at least. Yep. And you famously...
I can't say before Radiantich because I had so many managers before you, so I don't remember which one you want to talk about.
Well, we're going to talk about the reason for that.
Yeah.
Because you had the first-hand experience of Jesus Gil.
Yeah.
One of the most... I mean, in a pretty mental environment, Spanish football, he's right up there on the pantheon. He's the elite of absolute mental cases.
Yeah.
Tell us some stories about that era, because you were in the same training environment as Cholo Simeone, who's vital to the club now. Yeah. You came into the club, or you were at the club during an era when they were double winners.
Caminero, Vizcaíno.
Caminero's just joined Malaga as a football director, but Caminero's been responsible for a lot of the signing. Mm-hmm. Tico, I suppose, was at or around the club as centre forward. Pantic would have been playing, I guess.
Yep. Tomic, Paunovic was the manager now of Chicago Fire. It was just an amazing time. But with bless his soul, with Jesus Gil, Mr. Jesus Gil, he was amazing to the players. Everyone, I know what people saw from outside, but when he came to his players,
now, Quinton, I don't make a habit of arguing with my guests.
But I hear what you say. But for us,
okay, what about the bulls in the back garden?
Oh, that was fantastic. He took us to. He took us to his home. I remember he invited all the players and his son Miguel Angel Gil. Where's the picture?
He's still in charge of the club.
Amazing man, amazing human being. I owe so much to that man. He was amazing.
But back to the back garden.
Even sorting the deal out with United, he was 100%. Invited to his house, and then I just hear Fortune, vamos. And I'm like, what? Why are you calling me? Look at all the players. They wanted me to do bull. So there's a picture somewhere at home. I need to find it, of me and Miguel Angel doing the bullfighting.
So what?
With not the proper bull. Let's put it. It was a baby one, but I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't know.
So you have a cape?
I have a cape. One side of the cape, and Miguel Angel Gil is holding the other side, and we're doing the whole lay, and they doing the whole lay. I just want to get back to the wherever I was sitting. But
it might have been not a full-size bull, or it might only be a young bull, but could it have knocked you over?
I wanted to be out of Graham. I wanted to, oh my goodness, please get me away from this, but we did 1 or 2, and then I said thank you very much.
Thanks, President.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
I really enjoyed it, but amazing. I mean, the President was...
He was a guy who was jailed. He's now not alive. Mm-hmm. Effectively, you can tell it as it is.
He was amazing. He used to come in with a bag and say... this is yours. Go and win this game.
And it contained cash.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But if you want to give your own players cash to win a game,
it was brilliant. It was amazing. Like, for me as a kid, I was like, what is this? I'm traveling home with pesetas thinking, oh, what am I going to Cape Town with pesetas and all this money? It's unbelievable. But he was great with the players.
Describe him, because a lot of people who aren't my age, or you're a lot younger than me, so Neil, but he was describe him, because he's a big,
larger than life figure.
Larger than life, sure.
Like nothing fazed him. Like when, like the guy was not scared of anyone.
Open
anything.
Shirt, medallion down here, slick back hair.
Walking and be giving instructions like he was in control of everything. And when he came to his players, no one can say anything about his team. Atlético Madrid was his baby. When he came to his players, making sure everyone's, you okay? Yeah, you okay? Yeah. Fortune, yeah. Brilliant.
So irrespective of what kind of scoundrel you are, if you treat your players well,
the players would fight. That's why you see Simeone fighting. Is that spirit? Is that fight till the end for him? He was amazing to the players. Did
Simeone stand out even then in training, or whenever you shared time with him? Because you were still developing at
Yeah.
that stage. You were still a young player.
Simeone stood
between
out.
Atleti and Atleti B. Simeone would have been a figure that I'd have thought was
Yeah.
imposing at that time.
Simeone stood out. At that time, he was obviously as a player, so the player head on, very ruthless. Didn't give you anything in training. You know you get bite by him. But typical the way Simeone is now as a manager, don't give anything, and you have to fight for it. But you could see a very clever player. Obviously, Caminero was there. Kiko was outstanding. Kiko was fantasy. Everything was art to Kiko. Everything it did, the no look pass and Pantic. Oh my goodness, Pantic.
Gorgeous from the Balkans, from the former Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Just seemed to pad about the pitch,
Yeah.
like some sort of jungle animal. His
Simple.
feet sort of studs never going into the ground.
Yeah.
Just doing this and that and giving it,
Free
making
kick
the ball.
specialist.
Yeah.
Free kick specialist. The moment that stood for me out at Atlético Madrid was obviously making my debut when against Barcelona, and they had for me probably the closest player or the thing we're going to get to Pelé was Ronaldo from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this out in the open because I love Cristiano Ronaldo, I love Messi, Neymar, Ronaldinho, but this guy was
Describe the Ronaldo of
the
those
Ronaldo.
days.
You like I just mentioned all those players. You take Ronaldinho, you take Messi, you take Cristiano Ronaldo, you take Neymar, you put all those together, and maybe you get Ronaldo. And I understand the generation now would like probably say I'm crazy, but the guy was just crazy. It was unfair to the rest. He could run with the ball. He knew when. Sometimes you get players that are very quick,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have the intelligence.
Mhm.
He knew how to play in between the lines. He could get it to feet. He could do the step over if he needed, if he wanted to. But there was an end product. He was ruthless. Oh my goodness! I remember, like I said to you, when I did the TED talk, I'm sitting on the bench and I was like, okay, I want to see what this Ronaldo is. And I just remember our fans killing him because he was going out with the blonde Brazilian girl then.
Yes, Susanna Werner.
Susanna. And they started to sing about Susanna, and I'm thinking, ooh,
Don't get him mad.
okay. So the first half finished and we down 3-0. Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. He's angry. So the second half starts and they had, look at this team. They had Figo, Pep Guardiola, Ivan de la Peña. Oh my goodness.
What a player.
I remember, yeah.
Giovanni, the Brazilian, might have been there.
Or Rivaldo. But obviously I just remember Ronaldo stood out to me. And Figo. And Antic calls me and he says, Fortune, come. Venir. And I'm like,
Your Fortune in
Fortune,
Spanish, eh?
Fortune.
Okay.
so I'm of course this is my senior debut. I didn't get to do that at Tottenham, so now I'm going to make my professional debut. This is against all the teams in the world is Barcelona. Yeah, stood in the halfway line, excited to get on, and he goes to be a mocking Ronaldo. Talk about starting someone's career and finishing it at the same time. He should have just called me off then and said, like, you might as well go and get changed because I think Ronaldo just finished your career.
Gee, thanks, coach.
Thanks, manager. But oh my goodness, he played against Atlético Madrid that season. I think 3 times he scored 9 goals. And I remember that season. That's the season our right back. It was called Jelly.
Correct.
And he did the bit of skill where he takes it that way and he brings it back. And I remember the next day in the Marca they had like clip for clip to see just Jelly's facial expression, like where's he going? But he was, oh my goodness. It's hard to see him the way he is now because when he was playing, he was just.
He's always claimed that he was kept at an unnatural weight, particularly at PSV, where he's even skinnier than he was at Barcelona and at his best at Inter Milan. And one of the things that it looked from a distance to me that he had was he was very powerful too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a sprint away from you. He would turn you. If you leaned into him, he'd push back.
Everything, Graham, that you can imagine as for a footballer to have, the guy had.
He also had amazing finishing power, right?
When he got the opportunity,
The angles were really good. I seem to remember
ridiculous.
he always kind of knew where a keeper might be unbalanced.
Yep.
Then a lot of the finishes were slid.
Yep.
I mean, he had power if
He
you
could-
wanted
yeah.
it, sure.
Yeah.
And the step over, if you're 1-on-1,
Oh, it's
8
finished.
times out of 10,
It's
the
finished.
keeper's going to lose that
Yeah.
one. But he did snooker finishes,
Yeah.
from my understanding, which mean that you've got peripheral vision, but also your timing about wait till the keeper can't make a move there. And it looks as if the keeper's done nothing.
Yeah.
I think keepers must have hated him, not just because of being scored against all the time, but he made them look like statues.
Yeah.
When it was all about, like, if I go now, he's on his left foot and I'll put it there and he can't move.
But when you spoke about the skill level in terms of in South Africa, kids wanted to entertain. He could do that bit of skill, but the thing that made him so special and the best was he does that skill, beat you, and he scores.
Yeah.
That's what we need to cut.
It's the whole.
Yeah, he would leave you to death.
But it's a good point, because if the way I understood South African football, and I watched some of the club football as well, that if you could harness the natural talent that Rob was explaining to me about that time,
oh my goodness,
we're all for entertainment.
Yeah.
And the guys who can do brilliant things and then lay off the pass,
yeah,
or make sure that the tackle's made, or be right positionally, or score the goal, whatever. Once you put all of that together, it's the magic of football.
We played now a game when I was involved now with the national team with Stuart Baxter against Burkina Faso.
You were assistant coach, Stuart was the coach.
Yeah. And we beat Burkina Faso at home at the FNB 3-1. Now, if you can get the goals from that game, the skill, the players showed the skill, but while they were doing the skill, it was going somewhere and it was boom, end up in the goal. And everyone was like, wow, that's amazing. And that's South African football at its best, because we're encouraging the players, don't take the skill, don't not do it, do it. But there's got to be end product, and when they did it with end product, oh my goodness, it was a joy to watch.
This is what's in front of you. This is the success of coaching. When you can coach people and notice the difference and win, then it's a fulfilling line of work. You know that I'm not one of those that likes to play the Messi Ronaldo game, because it's obviously, for anybody who's got a thinking brain, we're just privileged that we're alive when they're both at their peak. Yeah. So I've no need to compare, but we're recording this at a time when Cristiano is taking his first steps in Turin, his first steps at Juventus. Now, he's a big old brute of a man now. He owns everything that he touches, and therefore he's not going to be timid, he's not going to be finding his way. Everybody's going to salute him everywhere he goes, probably including Maxi Allegri. But it wasn't that way when he came to United.
No, when Ronnie arrived, we played against him against Sporting on our last game of the pre-season. We just travelled from America, and I remember after the game, I think Roy Keane was saying, I think that was one more too much because we were battered, we finished. But that's our excuse. I felt for John O'Shea because he played on John O'Shea's side, and he was just...
John was fullback that day?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Ronnie was just outstanding.
Did you know anything about him before you played that game?
No.
It's just end of pre-season. We've got a game against Sporting Lisbon.
There's a new stadium that I think they just opened.
Okay.
Yeah. And
building towards the Euro champs.
Yeah, he was outstanding. Even watching him while we were playing against him, he was just step over, cutting inside, both feet, just
a little bit Johannesburg.
Yeah, and that was his mentality at the beginning. He just wanted to embarrass people. I remember when he arrived there, he was happy just killing players in games, in training. And he would come and speak to me like, this one, and I was like laughing. But at the beginning, he just wanted to make sure he's going to destroy whatever was in his way, and enjoy that. He enjoyed that challenge. But for me, the thing that made Ronaldo so special was his mentality, his attitude, that self-belief. How can such a young player come with Graham like?
The first person that told me this was Walter Di Salvo. Said that Cristiano, because they befriended each other, because as Cristiano adapted his mentality, he realised he needed, or as he watched around him in that Manchester United training ground, he realised that a lot needed to change, not least his fashion sense, which we'll come on to later.
Oh my goodness.
But Di Salvo was one of those who helped him in his training regime, and he always said to Di Salvo, and Di Salvo told me that he was telling him that he wanted to be regarded as the best player ever. That was his objective. That he wanted Ballon d'Or, and he wanted to be the best player at United, but he wanted to be, he genuinely thought he could become the greatest player ever. And that's it, never mind Messi or any of the stuff that's bedeviled him in the subsequent years. And he still thinks that he should be considered as the best ever, and that's what he's tilting at. But like, so when you've always said that you love that mentality, but when you first meet somebody who says, I am the best, I want to be the best, does that automatically click with you? Did it automatically click with everybody? Because again, I know there were people in that that United environment who wouldn't have warmed to that initially.
There must have been a few players, definitely, but and you could see it in training. But I enjoyed my time with Ronaldo because, first of all, the language. Because he came to me because I spoke Spanish, so he would speak to me in Portuguese, so I would translate for him. And if he needed help, I would kind of explain what he wanted, and if they needed to tell Ronaldo something, they would speak to me, and that's how we ended up having a great relationship. But I think in that environment, because he was showing it on the pitch and in the games, there wasn't much players could say to him at the end. Yes, he wasn't. The end product wasn't there yet, but what he was showing, everyone could see this is ridiculous. He's unbelievable natural talent. He was beating people at ease, but at the same time, he came with the confidence that he's telling people he wants to be the best. But until he brought that end product, there was friction. There was friction because people wanted the ball at a certain time, and
Van Nistelrooy wanted. I mean, that's famous because again, I've been told by people who were there about Van Nistelrooy reducing Ronaldo to tears because of his dad, and Queiroz is your dad. I don't quite mean that. I'm interested in the positive way that learning off tough guys like Scholes and Neville and Rio and Keane. What clearly happened was that young, unformed Cristiano Ronaldo, sometimes because football environments can be rough and demanding, and there's a lot of digging.
He got it every day.
That's my point.
He got it every day in training because when Ronaldo arrived, he was doing all the fancy stuff. Not fancy stuff. I like to say skill because he had the amazing ability. He was beating people, going by, and it was beautiful to watch. But then at times, obviously players are clever. This is the high level, so they would just push you and nudge you over the ball, and people would laugh. And like we would tease him after, he got weights, and this would eat him. Oh my goodness, this would drive him absolutely mad. We would tease him saying, David Beckham's jersey is still there, so he's just borrowing the jersey, that spot. This would infuriate him. He was like, no, I'm the best.
But he would go and do something about it.
He would go and train his socks off. Oh my goodness. That's why I say to young players now when I have the opportunity to speak to them, if you want to be anywhere near Ronaldo, you have to live for football, eat football, sleep football. This guy he was doing that every single day. Came into the training. After training, I was fortunate to see it. We put on the ankle weights and do the step overs, take off the ankle weights. Again, free kicks, sprinting, go to the gym, get stronger. And then you could see it a few weeks.
You see the difference?
He was getting stronger, he was getting more confident. People would be, and he was enjoying it. He was like, no one pushed me off the ball, and he got stronger. He never wanted for us to tease him again about someone pushing him off the ball.
Rio told that story recently about how one day they were playing table tennis, and Rio beat him, and he went away and bought a table tennis table and practiced solidly.
He was a joke. The guy was it's ridiculous. We would beat him maybe once a game, and we would enjoy that moment so much, Graham, because we got tease him every single day. Ronnie, don't worry about it, and we could see it was just. He'll come back the next week. He wouldn't lose another game. He'll beat everyone. He was just obsessed with winning.
Could there have been? It's unfair to ask you. Could there have been a better environment? But like when he was learning from those people, but Keane and Neville and Scholes and Giggs and Ferguson, could there really have been a better environment for this guy who wanted to soak up all the hostias and then went again and go right? I'm going to change that. They'll never do that to me.
He got the best environment. He was so fortunate, the timing and the blessing he had because the manager had the patience and the vision to keep playing him because the manager knew the potential and you could see the desire, and that's what sets him apart from all the young talented players. You could see the desire in Ronnie every single day. Like he starts the box, he doesn't want to give the ball away. Yes, he was doing the tricks, but he's not giving the ball away. He's not going inside the box today in training.
So when you say not going inside the box, that's United use boxes, but it's known around the world now as the rondos. The concept's the same, but it's not a circle; it's a box. And there were grades of boxes at United, weren't there? There was the elite
senior box,
and And you said go in the middle. I mean, just describe that. Just what was the level of boxes, who played where, and what didn't he want to do when you say he didn't want to go in the box? Describe that.
Well, you get the box with obviously you get Giggsy, Scholesy, Roy Keane, the senior players at that time, and then you get our box, the so-called youngers, and a few foreigners, and it's 2 players in the middle, and it's 10 by 10, and when you go in the middle. And at the box at United at that time, it could be a while before you get out, and that's why this is the simple things, and that's when I do my coaching badges now, and I have the opportunity to coach some players. I say to them, this is part of the game, this is part of training. Yes, we have fun, but this is what you do. This is when you watch Scholesy, they're fizzing at the ball. When I arrived at United, I was watching them, I was thinking, what is going on here? You watch David Beckham, this is Roy Keane, Dwight York, Andy Cole, one-touch football. But then we move into possession game. They were doing exactly the same, and you wonder because they started exactly there in that mentality. I'm not going into the middle. I'm not going to give that ball away. And this is what I try to encourage players. It's something small, but you have to train your mind, like the way you touch it, that small touch. It can fizz into you, taking the pace of it. Scholesy was ridiculous. I mean, he was probably the best I've seen. And then Ronaldo just took it to another level. Wayne Rooney arrived. Oh my goodness. But just that mentality. Yes, we have fun, but you keep those people.
And you started this anecdote by saying that Cristiano, although he had the tricks and some touch, he groomed himself to say, they're not going to put me in the middle. Even if they ping the ball at me, my touch will be right, or my layoff will be right.
It was the first couple of times when he arrived, he was doing the tricks, give the ball away, and he got in the middle. But then we start taking the piss out of him. And when you do that to Ronnie, oh my goodness, he quickly figures it out.
It reminds me of Beckham in that instance, in that whoever throughout his career, including Glenn Hoddle, who you enjoyed training under at Chelsea, pushed him down, you knew he was going to push right back up again. Yeah. And in fact, the best thing that could happen to Beckham was somebody to cross him or somebody to go wrong, because then it was like, no, I'm not having that.
Well, Ronnie got a couple of times in training, people would go through him, and he's like, he figured it out, like, I need to be quicker, to be stronger. Because obviously, the couple of times when he arrived, he was diving a bit, and quickly had to understand we don't do that here. You get up. We don't dive over unless you just show your strength. And he learned that in that environment.
So he wasn't told it. He just saw it, or people might have told him.
I think someone's manager probably spoke to him, but the few players definitely made sure they let him know without speaking to him, which means you get a couple of tackles in training. And quickly realize that I need to be quicker here. I need to think quicker. I need to be stronger. I don't want to be pushed off the ball. Players taking the piss out of me and stuff like that. So
we've sometimes talked about him together in a TV studio. And do you think there are times in his career where either his behaviour or his declarations about I'm not happy with them, how I'm treated at Madrid, or the money, or some of the, I mean, the change of look is radical, as every kid is allowed to do between a kid and a man. His teeth have changed, his face has changed, his clothes have changed. You're smiling, but that's just maturing, and he likes his appearance.
Yeah,
it's not a criticism by me, but it's a fact.
Yeah, but this is all. I'm not saying because of us, but we were teasing him on this stuff. When he arrived with all the stuff in his face, we were teasing him about his teeth. So all these was just, like you said, in environment, in the hard environment, anything the player can find to get you.
Yeah,
they will use.
Every club.
Every club. His gear. Oh my goodness, his gear would be hanged up every day. We would abuse him for the tightest pants ever he would wear. We'd like, Ronnie, that pants is tight, and he was like, nah, that's great. No, Ronnie, there's a difference. You gotta have air in between the pants. But that was him, and he took it on board until he started to be able to speak back. And when he was able to speak back, and oh my goodness, it was all over.
But as you've enjoyed the rest of his career, do you find it easier? Because some people, in my opinion, don't appreciate what we've been seeing because they don't like plucked eyebrows or they don't like the preening or his goal celebration. What occurs to me over and over again, maybe because I'm a little bit older, maybe because I've got a little bit of common sense, waking up.
Yeah.
In our working lifetime, we might not see this again.
Ronaldo, what people see from the outside is it's a show. When you speak to Ronaldo like this, like we do now, it's a different human being.
Thank you. Can I offer what I think? Bright, often very witty.
Yep.
definitely a funny guy, but a big working brain in there. No,
Amazing human being. Does a lot of things, good things in the quiet that probably people don't know about, but doesn't probably want people to know that he does good things. But amazing mother, family, sister, brother, good family people. Funny guy. Oh my goodness. Just someone that I saw that took football to another level when I arrived at United.
Couldn't agree more. Happy you said that. Now, I've seen you coaching, and I know your passion for the game, your ability at the game, and also I've seen in various different television studios your ability to analyse and compact information and share it in a way that people take things from. You've done your A licence.
Done my license just now last
You're
week.
in the middle of pro.
Applied for my submitted my CV for my pro license, so I'm waiting to hear back from them to see if I'm bored.
So listen, football world, you've got a bright, driven, still young, athletic, clever man here. Quinton Fortune needs to be given coaching opportunities now, but I have seen you as part of your A licence coaching kids at United, and that was part of your development. I think there was something that we both liked when we saw, and I'm now talking about Quinton Fortune, the future coach. We talked about boxes at United training, but do you call it the cage?
Yeah.
At United?
The cage.
Describe it and what its ideas are for, and what that means to you as somebody who might coach kids of that age.
The cage is almost like the closest thing we're going to get to street football. And I think at United they just want to encourage the players to, because it's continuous football, the ball doesn't go out. So they just want the players to express themselves. Because that when I was coaching at Evening, they had like under 14s and the 16s, so they were playing different age groups, and they just want to see that mixture and competing with each other, which is great because that's what you get in the street. You're not going to say, okay, under 14s over there. So
it's what you had in the flats when your brothers gave you the chance.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what they encourage that, and don't coach them, just let them play. So the coaches wouldn't get involved. So you see that just round robin where one team's win and they get off, and the kids organise themselves. The coaches will just sit back, and obviously they need to step in. If something goes wrong, then they'll step in. But other than that, they just let them play and get on with it. And people showing their strength, someone showing a bit of a skill. All the coaching they've been doing probably during the week, you just want to see they take it on board. So it's a great exercise to do with the kids, and I think they play once or twice a week in the cage. Brilliant.
Do you think we see, because having a look at the United tour at the moment, the guy we watched that day, Mason Greenwood, and Chung, who was player of the year at youth level last season. There are others, but what do you think of those two guys? And does that make it promising for what's coming at United?
I think those two players are probably the brightest ones now. For Mason Greenwood, like I said, I don't know if I told you last time, he's probably a player that reminds you of Ronaldo.
Wow.
The way he walks around, and it's a big thing to call, but it just, when I watch him sometimes in the way he moves, he's got that Ronaldo style for me, and it's been a while since I've seen such a young player take a free kick with both feet. I've seen him in games where he took a free kick with his left foot, and I've seen him in the same game with his right foot, and no problem.
You couldn't naturally easily tell which is the stronger.
And you don't see that anymore. You don't see, I don't know if they still coach players that go both ways, but he's just so natural. And
you see, I heard Arjun Robin the other day arguing, saying, I've got this brilliant left foot, and I don't agree. It was mad, because idealists like me might occasionally get things wrong. Once or twice every 10 years. We agree on that. You think about the Dutch school that trained people like that, that's very street football oriented. If you think about the generation we watched or you played against, they had street football for real. The idea there, certainly the Ajax school, which he didn't come through, was, you're ambidextrous for sure, and you must be able to understand. People think total football is just like the ball is beautiful all the time, but total football is the idea that you're absolutely aware of every position. Robin was like, and you could deputise in every position, of course you go both feet, which is how you started talking about Mason Greenwood and Fernando Redondo. Robin was like, I've got brilliant left foot, and I don't like this idea that people say I should improve my right foot, because why not just accept that I've got this brilliant left foot and put all the weight and all the emphasis on the fact that this is world class and boost the strengths of what I've got, rather than go and work on my right foot. Now for a guy who's had a career like his, 3 Champions League finals, winning one, scoring the winning goal in one. It was a really weird argument to hear, and it's so different from the admiration which came from you naturally about seeing a kid who's 17 who can take good free kicks with either foot. And you wouldn't know which is the strong one.
It's for me the greatest player ever was Pelé. Now, when you watch clips of Pelé, who could score with both feet, Ronaldo does it now. Unless you're Messi, don't bank on your left foot, or just you got to go. Messi showed in the World Cup Nigeria, boom, and where he must have practiced because it just doesn't happen.
It's one of his beautiful goals.
With his right foot.
At that stage, it might have saved the World Cup, and he finishes with so-called weaker foot. Yeah.
So it takes practice. I remember as a kid playing against the first team at Tottenham in the indoor facilities and watching Mickey Hazard.
Wow.
Now, for those who remember Mickey Hazard,
oh man,
oh my goodness, talk about football education for myself and just sitting there or being in a game, watching him and thinking, this is what I want to be like. I want to be able to my right foot to be as good as my left foot because you didn't know which way to show him.
Yeah.
When I arrived at United and I played professional football, people started to shout, show him this weaker foot, show him this weaker foot. And I had to practice, okay, I need to maybe use a swinger now and then, but I wish I'd practice more and be able to go both ways. Because when Ronaldo did it, the great Ronaldo did it from Brazil, Neymar does it because he's got that great balance when Neymar stays on his feet, which I just make sure, Neymar, I love you, but come on, bring the old Neymar back.
See, this is Carrington already, and this is the cliff coming out. Like every player gets a flag, no matter who they are.
So it's just you want to encourage young players today to go both ways. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
And do you think Mason has got 2 feet naturally, or he's trained himself?
I think he trained himself because I watch him for a few years now. When I first saw him, I thought he was like just ridiculous when I first saw him, and I always used to ask the coaches, "How's he doing? How's the progress going?" But I'm sure he must have practiced. I'm sure he's obviously had the ability, but it takes practice to be able to do what he does. It's amazing. It's amazing. Whoa, you watch any player, boom, step up, free kick, left foot. Sorry guys, I'll take this one, right foot. What's going on here?
And you talked about this concept of how he can play both feet, street football, the boxers at United. You know, some of that won the World Cup. Because when the game's in the balance, France-Croatia, that pass that Pogba makes, that right foot volley, it's just...
That's Scholesy.
Yeah.
Now, I love Pogba, but there was a period Scholesy came to train us with the under-21s when he retired. And that's probably the best education I would think any under-21 players got, because they had Pogba, they had Adnan Januzaj, they had Raval, and all these players got to play with Scholesy, and to see him firsthand, the movement, the touch, it's the best education.
That was a Scholes pass that Pogba made.
Oh, it's Scholesy all day long.
Yeah.
This is from watching Scholesy. This is from being around the training ground. I'm sure Pogba's got it in his locker to do that, but he saw it. He saw it in training. When once you see stuff, you're in that environment. You want to see. Okay, let's try that pass. Let's practice this. I'm not saying he couldn't do that, but from watching Scholesy, he saw it every day.
I know you always tell the truth, but did Scholesy really see passes 2 minutes before you did?
Yeah.
You told that anecdote, and I almost
he was just honestly, he killed me that day in training. I just remember doing a pass and he, Gwinnett, yes, you see that pass? Yeah. I saw 2 minutes ago. I was like, wow. Because I thought he was going to say something. He's just like, wow. But the guy was just, it was a joy. And like I said, for these young players like Paul Pogba, them in that time around Scholesy, and Scholesy is probably one of his biggest fans. So when people see this quote about Scholesy, he knows what he's capable of doing.
And wants more from him.
He wants more from him because he knows he's got more to give.
And now we could talk about whether, I don't know, people, including Wayne, might not want blue haircuts in the Manchester Derby and so on, but that's another subject for another day.
No, but it's unnecessary because it's not Manchester United. I know the times has changed, but and Manchester United was all about you play your football, that's it. No all this other stuff. Scholesy was the best. Scholesy came in, trained, was amazing, played his game, boom, gone home. That's what all the manager wanted. Compete every day. Roy Keane keep the standards. And the rest of the stuff, all that money and all that stuff that comes with it, will take care of itself. Once you take care of the football part, people can say whatever they want.
It must be one of the reasons you succeeded, ability and athleticism aside. All you wanted to do was play football.
Play football. It was about...
So the fit between you and that Manchester United was really close.
It was amazing because I was getting players every day and training that could give me competition, which I had as a kid every day. At school, and the games, on the football field, when I played with my friends. And now I just get the opportunity to play at the highest level, against amazing world-class players. And they competed. This is perfect.
Finish on what kind of coach would you like to be once? Because I will resent it when it happens, but it's what you want, because you're very good on television. You're very good at bringing the extra that a former pro needs to give, so that journalists and viewers and presenters can make a better job of what they're talking about. And that's a fact. You're very good at it. But your ultimate goal is to not do that, is to be a coach. When you're coaching, where do you envisage yourself coaching, and what kind of coach do you envisage yourself being?
That's a great question. First, I like to be a coach that encourages players, because I know myself as a player that when I felt a manager was encouraging me, it brings a different side of a player. And I know sometimes some players need to be treated differently, but I like to encourage players. I like for them to be able to express themselves and play with no... Of course, sometimes you need a little bit of fear because you want to win, but just express themselves, and players that unselfish. Play for the team. Everything's about the team. Because once you do that, the individual ability will shine. Once you focus on working for the team and dominate. When I watch Pep and I hear him speak about like he wants to control the whole game, I like to... Of all the coach I've learned, I remember that time I played in the Sam Allardyce, just a simple throw-in frustrates me sometimes, because I think a throw-in is also part of the game, because you want to compete to win the ball. But players now, they just let them throw it in and then change the play. That eats me. And I remember watching when I was at Bolton, my time I spent with Sam Allardyce, I used to go crazy, because it's just, why would you just let them get out easy? Because when the ball's at the opposite end at your goal, they keep you in there. But you just go let them change the play, and then they go attack, and then you're wondering what's going on. So
don't be dominated. Don't give people easy space, thinking time.
Nothing.
Check and see if it's their day, if the touch is good or not, if the throw's been taken well. Press.
Dominate when you have the ball. Like Pep now, he wants to keep the ball. With Sean O'Driscoll, when I was at Doncaster, he used to say to us, when we score the first goal, we go back to centre spot. Don't let the team now settle, get the few passes. No, press them again. Because psychologically they're probably down a bit. Go again. Finish them. At United, you score 4 goals. Sprint to the corner flag. I remember playing a game and we were beating West Ham 4-0 or so, end up 7-0. And David Beckham sprinted the corner flag. I'm thinking, now in Spain, it's like, tranquilo, where are you going? But it's almost like you plant that seed for the next couple of seasons, because when they come back to Old Trafford, they know whatever the thought they had or planning is not going to happen. I have a bit of the Alex mentality, which create an environment, a working environment. Carlos Queiroz, the tactical side of things. Antic, he was amazing. Just Arrigo Sacchi, oh my goodness, I had spent a little bit of time with Arrigo Sacchi, and just to watch him, how he wanted...
Now that wasn't at Doncaster.
No.
And that's one of the first things you said that really taken me aback, that I didn't know about. When Sacchi was coach at
Atlético Madrid,
I didn't know that. That you worked under Sacchi. That's a phenomenal teacher to have.
And to watch being a training session and how he used to go crazy, because he used to put out the different colours and how he wanted the team to move as one. And if he didn't move as one, oh my goodness, he would stop training. He would go crazy, drive the players crazy, because you just want to train as a player. You just want to get out and get the ball. No, repetition, move as one, boom, ball goes there. As soon as the ball goes there, you must know that
everything automatic, as if you're all linked.
You link
together. If you're like table football players, where you all move in unison.
He wanted to move. Everything is to shout in training. Everything move as one. If it didn't move as one, everyone's not everyone in sync.
We both know that's what Pep wants too, and it's highly organised as to what the movements are. But you've said something that people need to understand, that players initially, when they're under Sacchi or under Pep, and a coach intervenes all the time, it really pisses players off. Whereas if you're an outsider, you think, well, of course, if you're a coach, a teacher, a boss, and you've got something to say, you stop it and you teach them. But players can get very itchy and jumpy about a coach always intervening and correcting them.
And that's finding the balance. And I think for us, for me and myself, my experience, I remember Sacchi coming out with his book, every morning before training, and he used to speak to the players. Now this is before training started. Now for me, in Italy, that's probably normal. When I was at my Brest at time, that's normal. The coach comes out, he has a little talk, and I was like, oh my goodness, just get the box up, because it's United, the first thing you do is the box.
Yeah.
The gaffer hardly speaks to you. Gaffer speaks to you after training. He's walking off, or comes to you during training, takes you to the side, have a few words. That's it. The assistant coach does all the training. Yeah, you're standing for half an hour, and you're thinking, what is this guy talking about? You just want to train. So for me, all that experience that I've had, and these amazing managers, of course Alex was the best, and to kind of take all that information and trying to create, first of all, a great environment, because when you have a great environment like we had at United, the rest will take care of itself. Because when you can get players to train at the highest level without you being there, because there's days Alex wouldn't even be there, but the level was still, that's...
Because you had a lot of generals and a lot of sergeant majors in that dressing room.
You had leaders. That was just amazing.
Rio, for example.
Rio,
Gary, Keno.
the Scholesy, Butty, the Nevs, but Keane for me was the highest, because he just kept the level there, and he just kept it real, because he wanted us to train the way we played. And I remember once in training, I shielded the ball of Keane, and I'm at edge of my own box, and he just kicked me, and I was like, and Carlos stopped the training, and I was like, I got so angry, and I was like, why is he doing that? And I just remember Keane saying, would you do that in the game? And it just made me think, because I know it's training, but it just can't lift the thought in my mind.
What didn't he like? You were shielding it. What didn't he like that you wouldn't do? That he was telling you wouldn't do in a game.
I would not in that, or be so. No, I wouldn't say lackadaisy, because in that situation in the game, I would probably play it simple, near my own box.
Yeah.
And just get it moving ball
Keep
quickly.
it moving away.
But I was shielding it because I was stronger now, and I was more confident. And of course, it's Keane. You want to have a bit of competition with Keane, but he just left it to me as he ran away. Said, "What are you doing in the game?" No. So he just wanted us to be switched on, do things properly
all the time, as
all
you would do if it was a final or
all the time
Premier League derby.
When you play the box, pass properly.
As if it's Wembley.
Pass properly, because when you come to the game, and this is why I keep emphasizing to people that when we used to play the game on a Saturday or Sunday or during the week, the battle was already won, because the way we trained, it was just ridiculous. I was never going to get an opponent as good as Giggsy on a Saturday afternoon, a Scholesy, a Keane, a Bex, a Yorkie. This one by competition every single day.
Train brutally hard so that playing's fun.
Playing was a joy, because you give it to Scholes, just keep on running, he'll find you. Beckham, as the ball goes wide, get in the box, he'll find you. And that was just repetition. And like I said to you, once you as a manager can achieve the level where you're not there and they still keep that level, enjoy yourself.
I get the impression you're going to be a special coach.
I hope so.
I could listen to that in a dressing room if I was a sort of 17-year-old future pro. We should mention before I let you go your academy.
I've started Quinton Fortune Academy. I've been very fortunate, Graham. A few years ago in South Africa, in Cape Town, I had a club called FC Fortune. This is the time I played with United. And the idea was simple, was someone gave me the opportunity, and I just wanted to find the best young players in South Africa and give them opportunity. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because people wasn't taking care of the club properly, so I had to stop that. And a few years later, which was all my mind, two gentlemen here in Manchester approached me, saying they just wanted to use my name. I said, no, I want to be involved, because I just don't like to give my name. I want to see how you're going to run the academy, and that's how we all started. So we've been putting everything together for the last 2 years, and it's been running for a few months. So it's basically kids from 5 to 13 years old, and we just coach them. The end product would be one day to bring kids from South Africa and coach them here, and hopefully give them an opportunity to play here in Europe.
Well, what we can do for sure is you can keep us up to date with how that's going.
Brilliant.
If there's a way that the big interview can help in one way or another, then we will do. For the moment, if they're getting this level of experience and input from you, and if the teams that you coach do, they're going to not only develop, but they're going to enjoy themselves. You used the word a couple of minutes ago, Quinton. This has been a joy.
Yep, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.